This is the party line, although probably not the one you were expecting, nor the one I set out to write. It's Friday, October 14th, and I've spent most of the day down at Zuccotti Park, Liberty Square in Lower Manhattan. Figured if not today, when? This was, of course, the day when Brookfield Properties, the owner of the park, and the city were threatening to clean the park, shall we say, which would have meant a moving of the protesters, at least temporarily, but probably a disruption of the protests. Lots of people, thousands of people, with the support of labor unions and folks like me who just wanted to come down and lend a hand down there this morning, and literally moments before 7 o'clock, when the action was supposed to begin to clean out the protesters, the city blinked. Brookfield blinked, and there was no action today. Great cheer went up, as you can see from the video. Fantastic, a victory, even if just until tomorrow, because now the city and the Occupy Wall Street folks or Brookfield, I should say. There's a blurry line, as you can see, at least in my mind, between the city and Brookfield and the Occupy Wall Street folks. You know, Michael Bloomberg's girlfriend is on the board of Brookfield Properties. I'm not probably the first person to tell you that. There are conflicting interests, but it's those kind of interests, those sort of political interests, that I want to come to you with. A lot of people have covered the demonstrations and today's events and more police brutality. That's all out there, and other people are going to do a really good job of it. But I want to talk about the local political angle, because I was standing there and thinking, like, what can I come to you with that maybe we haven't talked about? And I'm thinking about, for instance, the sort of tone-deaf, I think, statements from Mayor Bloomberg, even when he's trying to sound conciliatory, seems to just have a tin ear for democracy. I mean, Michael Bloomberg, to my mind, hates democracy. Ugly, messy, dirty stuff, you know, just filled with people, for crying out loud. Icky. And his comments about how the protesters were damaging property values and getting in the way of the people who work in Wall Street, whose taxes are so important to the city, were not only just really wrong. I mean, like, fine, I know you think that, but you were trying to sound some sort of weird middle-of-the-road note when you went down there a couple of days ago, and that just ain't it. Honestly, if they provide all the tax base for the city, then you've done a really bad job of diversifying the city's economy. But if they do, then it's those people who should be paying their fair share in taxes. These sentiments were actually echoed by Governor Cuomo, who said that the people of Wall Street were an important part of the tax base of New York City, to New York State, to which I say, really? Then why are you refusing to take up renewal of the millionaire's tax in New York, which is due to expire at the end of the year, and will just carve a great big hole into an already Swiss cheese-like New York state budget? I mean, the state is in deep financial crap, and this is something that the state has been able to depend on. It's a minor surtax on people who make more than $1 million, and it's something that you could easily renew at the end of the year. Cuomo is avoiding even talking about it, and I thoroughly expect him to do his very best to make sure that it expires. I would point out to those in the city that the governor has a New York City office, and if people wanted to do a day action, an offshoot, I think that asking the governor at his office or his staff at his office about this would probably be a good thing. So you've got those two people, but I'm also looking at the people who are going to be vying for Mayor Bloomberg's job, assuming Mayor Bloomberg doesn't decide to buy himself another term. There are people who are already, if you live in the city, quite obviously jockeying for position. The most obvious one to me, because I live in her district, is City Council President Christine Quinn, who has basically anointed herself with Bloomberg's oily oil as the obvious successor. She ever since she became city council president, has been angling for the next step on the ladder. And when she allowed Bloomberg to, honestly, straightforward, buy her vote to overturn term limits, he did it quite nakedly. She flipped on term limits and allowed him to take his third term. She basically decided that she was throwing all in with Bloomberg, the assumption being that Bloomberg will end his third term popular enough that her being his heir apparent won't harm her electorally. Well, I think that Christine Quinn probably has a little surprise coming for her, especially if this protest continues to go in the direction it does, and Mike Bloomberg continues to be as awkward about it as he is. And in that fashion, Christine Quinn has been in quite a bind herself. Her statements initially, well, they were pretty much non-existent about the Occupy Wall Street movement. In recent days, she's been forced to comment more, and her comments yesterday and today, or early today, were really classic Quinn, in that she wanted to encourage dialogue, which, you know, I'm not against. But she managed to say something that sounded like she was saying something without saying anything about what she wanted the results of that dialogue to be. Quinn is very good at making it sound like she's working with you. I know from experience that in the end, the people who are going to make campaign contributions to her in larger numbers are the ones who usually wind up winning these battles, or at least getting her attention. So Quinn encourages dialogue. You know, a similar statement was made by Bill de Blasio. He's the New York City public advocate, which is, you know, an interesting job not all cities have. I don't really have to go into explaining it, but it's also considered a sort of, you know, semi-executive. It's an elected post. On your way to mayor kind of thing. And Bill de Blasio also came out today with a statement where he said that he encouraged dialogue, but he added that he encouraged dialogue because he felt like the balance had been thrown off between the protesters and the owners of the park, because the city appeared to be weighing in on the side of the property owners. And that's a tiny little addition that makes an incredible difference in the statement, which is that, and honestly, this has always had me scratching my head. I understand it's a weird kind of netherworld, this public-private park, but you've got the NYPD essentially doing the job of the park owners enforcing a private park's rules if you had them going in and extricating the demonstrators today. And what does that say? And the other local politician who's also vying for mayor, who I'd like to highlight, is Scott Stringer. He's the Manhattan Borough president, probably the most liberal of the people I'm talking about, but also probably the least well-funded and lowest profile of them. Scott Stringer has been working in city government since he was a kid on a community board, and he's been working his way up slowly over many, many years. And he was down there early on. Within, I think, the first week, he was shaking hands down at Zuccotti Park. And, well, his statement today on dialogue, again, the keyword word of the day, might have been a little bland. The history of Stringer being down there, showing his face, showing his support for the occupiers, I think is unequivocal. The other guy I should probably talk about is the city controller, Lou, but the New York Times is going after him whole hog on some campaign contribution issues, and I'm going to reserve judgment there because this story is still developing. But this is what I'm thinking about. It's like, what happens as this goes on, and I expect it to go on. Where do the people vying for the city's heart and soul come down on it, and how do they play this? Bloomberg obviously changed his... obviously, the story is that Bloomberg changed his mind overnight and decided to hold off, at least for now, on cleaning out the park. I was talking to some people down there who theoretically should know, who told me that it was Howard Wolfson who told him, you can't be the billionaire who like crushes the people's demonstration, which is probably the smartest piece of advice Harold Wolfson's had for a politician in, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. But bully for him, because he's right. Every time the police get a little tough, every time the city tries to play enforcer for the private interests, it only enhances the movement. And it's just not smart politics. But speaking of movements, the other thing that I was talking about and thinking about today, and I'll try to make this quick, is the labor movement, which was out in force today, backing up the protesters. And one of the reasons the numbers were so beautifully great this morning was because lots of locals came down to show their support for the Occupy Wall Street crowd. And you know, we're talking about generally labor's at a very crucial moment. You know, this week, without barely a bat of an eye, the Senate passed these horrible trade deals. The South Korean one being the most high profile, if you can call any of these high profile, theoretically under the banner of providing jobs, but they're job killers, they're poverty and distress spreaders, honestly. And the labor movement is a crossroads. Some of them really took the bait on this one and sold out. You know, you've got threats to labor in Ohio, Wisconsin, all across the country, really. And we need to start a new dialogue about the benefits of labor. And you know, it's great to see them involved in this action. I encourage more direct action by labor like this. I mean, really, really a great idea. There was, for instance, a Teamsters action yesterday at Sotheby's. Teamsters do the art loading for Sotheby's, and they have been working without a contract and are now striking. I should probably talk more about that at length otherwise, but the point I wanted to get to is, where is our National Museum of Labor? Well, I went and Googled, and I don't think we have one. There's an American Museum of Labor in New Jersey. It looks interesting. I don't know exactly what part of Jersey. It's in a town I'd never heard of. I'm going to go look further into that. But honestly, I'm sure there's not a whole lot of real estate left on the mall, but God, there's a story to tell here. And you know what? We need to tell it. We need to talk about how different America is for the better because of over a century of struggle by organized labor. Some things that you really take for granted: worker safety, child labor laws, 40-hour work week, attempts at equal pay. These are things that have only come through collective struggle and underlying collective struggle that comes from having an organization that sticks up for the working man and woman in this country. And I think it's high time we honored that. We told the story. We taught America about the good that labor can do so that we can rebuild and re-strengthen the movement and enhance the lives of the 99%. And that's the party line, or lines, for today. I'll see you next week.
All day, all week, Occupy!